If you're not intentional about how you use your credit cards, you're leaving massive value on the table. Whether you're using the wrong cards, missing time-sensitive opportunities, or not adjusting your setup when you should. So today, I'll walk through my updated setup and the decisions I'm making now to earn maximum rewards and prepare for an upcoming trip which has an interesting booking situation, so you can apply the same tactics for your setup whether you have similar cards or not. Kicking things off with what's slotted in my wallet right now and why, the star of the show this quarter, and that's the Chase Freedom Flex card. It's one that changes a lot, but given this quarter's 5% category includes dining and that the base already has 3%, that's a total of 7% or 7 times Chase Ultimate Reward points per dollar spent on dining. 7 times points on up to $1,500 of spend every quarter. That's over 10,000 points on that spend alone. And because I also have the base Chase Freedom card, which also has this multiplier, I could spend up to double that if I needed to. At my usual 2 cents per point benchmark, when pairing with another card in my wallet and redeeming through travel partners for experiences like these and these, that's like getting 14% back in travel value. It's a great excuse to try some nice and fancy restaurants over the next few months. It's pretty much the highest category multiplier I have right now. And because dining is typically one of my highest spend categories anyways, this card is gonna see a lot of use, replenishing the points I've already used for upcoming trips. If you have this card, just make sure you activate it because it's not automatic. And keep in mind there is a foreign transaction fee, so beware if you're trying to use the card abroad. Now, once I hit those spending caps, if I even get there, the dining spend then falls down to my next card, which just so happens to have a unique benefit right now, and that's the Chase Sapphire Preferred, a staple in my setup that typically earns me that 3 times in dining and 2 times on travel, though the other multipliers like online groceries or streaming, not so much. It also does not have a foreign transaction fee, so it stays with me when I'm abroad as well. That said, there are 3 things to keep in mind right now if you have the card. First, you have that annual $50 Chase Travel Hotel credit to use. Now, you will want to verify that the prices you see through the portal are comparable to third-party sites, but if it is, then you are offsetting a lot of that $95 annual fee. Secondly, and the more unique benefit, is getting $100 off after spending $600 or more through Chase Travel in one transaction, which you probably can combine with that annual travel credit to really maximize those savings. And third, Chase cards are still solid when it comes to travel protection. And that's especially true when doing award travel because many of the travel protections already kick in even if you pay just a portion of the fare, in this case fees and taxes, with the card. Whereas a lot of other cards require you to pay the entire amount. But in general, it's my typical dining and travel card unless there's an exception like the Freedom Flex right now. Next up, and a card that I'm leaning towards more and more nowadays, is one that will earn me elevated points across a wide variety of categories like certain travel categories, restaurants, supermarkets, EV charging, and more, and that's with the Citi Strata Premier card. It's a great mid-tier card that covers a ton of different great categories, which really outshines the Chase Sapphire Preferred, apart from, of course, the popularity of their points ecosystem. Citi isn't at the top compared to a lot of the others, but I have the lowest number of points here, so it's worth diversifying a bit, given they do transfer to Flying Blue, a program I've been using more and more, one-to-one to EVA, and American Airlines, which is pretty unique, which can then book with great rates on JAL, Cathay Pacific, Qatar, and more. So definitely setting it as the default payment for EV charging and also taking it out for groceries as well. Then for everything else that doesn't fit into one of these special categories, electronics, general shopping, whatever, the Capital One Venture X is still my go-to catch-all card, earning me that 2 times miles on everything, plus a few different perks, though one of them is actually getting devalued right now, which is quite unfortunate. I've had this card for over 4 years now, since the release, and year after year, between that $300 annual travel credit through their portal and that 10,000 mile anniversary bonus, which is worth at least $100 in travel, if not double or more when going through travel partners, it more than pays for that $395 annual fee every year. Throughout that time, I've had great experiences with the travel travel portal, seeing that it's been most competitive compared to all other issuer travel portals, and I've treated it as my secondary lounge card, giving me priority pass access. The downside, starting in February, you will no longer get guest access with the card unless you hit an insanely high spend every year with the card, which I do not. For a solo traveler, nothing really changes apart from maybe less crowded when you are at lounges, but for group travel or families, it's a big downgrade. But speaking of lounges, especially with those Venture X downgrades, that means whenever I travel, I'll definitely need to make sure I'm bringing along my king of travel cards, the American Express Platinum card. Over 7 years with the card, over $4,000 in fees paid, 2 major refreshes, and it's only given me even more value over time. Like with lounges, giving me more access to different brands of lounges, including escape ones, which I visited for the first time during my trip to Australia, and guest access. Between the Venture X and my Platinum card, I've sometimes stacked both priority passes to bring groups of, say, 5 people into lounges so no one gets left behind. Beyond lounges though, this card is definitely not a daily spender. I pretty much never take it out unless I'm using the credits, offers, or that 5 times points when spending direct with airlines. It's purely with the variety of credits I use every single year that nets me way more value than the fee I pay every year. Around double that, if not more. And for these first few months specifically, there are a few I'm keeping top of mind. The $300 hotel credit, I'm definitely trying to use this for my upcoming Europe trip, but if not, I'll most likely have another trip which I'll try to use. The quarterly Resy and Lululemon credit, which will be really easy to use as there are a ton of Resy restaurants in my city, and given my partner and I have signed up for a half marathon later this year and have not started training, some running gear from Lululemon will eat up that credit easy. I would just try to look around on Thursday for their We Made Too Much sale, given that's supposedly when they do the restock. The Uber credit, pretty easy to use every month. Digital entertainment, especially with YouTube now, and maybe Peacock for the upcoming Olympics. And Saks Fifth Avenue, which you should definitely try to use sooner or later before things start changing with the rumblings of bankruptcy. Yes, that means there are a few credits that I don't or pretty much never use, which is perfectly fine because as long as the credits you do use and fit your lifestyle can justify that annual fee and then some, you'll come out positive every year. Not to mention all the Amex points earned on this card that will continue to funnel through to my future travel experiences. Next up, a card I would have in my wallet when traveling, and that's my recent Bank of America Atmos Summit card, especially for its 3 times points on foreign spend without a spending cap or certain categories. That essentially turns into my catch-all card whenever I'm out of country, and because my spend typically ramps up then anyways, it's a great combination, just not for my bank account. All that spend would also funnel to getting some Atmos status, which may help for flights in the future as well. And just like Citi, Atmos has some pretty unique and strong partners, JAL, Starlux, so building up some points here and diversifying is something I would want to do anyways. One thing to keep in mind if you have this card, figure out how you're going to use that 25,000 point companion certificate. Whether it's from the welcome bonus or earned, they do expire. For me right now, it's not urgent in Q1, but I'll definitely need to use it before year end. And that's the same with the next card in my travel wallet, the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card, which may or may not come with me this trip and does have a unique bonus right now where you'll earn up to $100 in airline credit when you spend $250 or more in the first half, unlocking $50, and $250 or more in the second half, unlocking the other $50. Just earning those credits can already offset the annual fee for a year. Now, when it comes to our upcoming Europe trip, we're not fully locked in on the hotels yet or whether we'll even stay at Marriott properties, because if not, then the card is sort of worthless for the trip given the high multipliers are for spending with those brands. On the other hand, I do still have 4 free night awards of 35,000 points or possibly boosted to 50,000 points per night, which expires sometime in September this year. So if not this trip, maybe I combine it with that 25,000 point global companion certificate on the Atmos Summit card to cover a portion of flights and hotels for a lower cost trip later this year. Speaking of travel, I'm also in a weird spot right now for my upcoming trip to Europe. You see, I've already booked my flight there from Vancouver to Paris as a stopover and then over to Milan using Flying Blue, Flying Air France for around 60,000 miles and $300 in taxes and fees. That's already locked in, and I think there might have been a small transfer bonus during that time. I don't exactly remember. But when it comes to flying home, I'm still looking. I know, I've put myself in this situation twice, one that worked out before and one that only half worked out, which you can learn more about here. But in this case, I'm keeping my eye out for flying 5 people in business class from Rome back to the West Coast. A big ask, but not without some calculation and a lot of hope. Because Flying Blue typically has a ton of seats per flight, between 4 to 5 many times, or even as high as 8 seats per flight. Even if the points needed does not dip down to 60,000 miles again, there's plenty more hovering around 87,000 miles, which isn't the worst if it really comes to that. Of course, ideally it would be 60,000 miles plus transfer bonuses, but one could only dream. So with all of that in mind, what about my next card? Well, I'm at 424 right now, which means one more personal card, and I'm at the 524 limit for any new chase cards. Not the greatest place to be in, so any card I add must be worth it. I've had the opportunity to add the Robinhood Gold credit card, which comes with that 3% back on everything, but without a strong welcome bonus, it just didn't seem that worth it to add. The other card I had high hopes for was the new Built 2.0 refresh, but boy was that release confusing. To the point where just a couple days later, they already added another path towards getting points from rent. But essentially, it seems like the more you spend with the card, the more points from your rent that you would unlock. With my rent at about $3,500 a month, that means I need to spend around $2,600 every month just to unlock the maximum points from my rent. It's not the worst, especially with the Palladium earning 2 times on everything, with a couple credits to help offset that $495 in annual fees, but then it's just even more to need to manage. So I'm not sure if it's 100% worth it yet. So I still need to think about it a bit more or see if there's going to be even more changes coming down the pipeline. Though according to this Reddit post and calculator, not sponsored or affiliated, rough calculations do show that it might actually be pretty decent for me and maybe better than the cards I have today, but is it that much better to justify that extra headache? I'm not sure yet. What do you think about the card? Let me know down below in case I'm missing any details. But it seems like they're really targeting a specific high spender that's willing to just put all their spend on one card, which for a lot of people in this whole maximizing credit card reward space, we typically don't like to all in one ecosystem and instead want to put our spend towards the highest return options. Whether it's welcome bonuses, unlocking certain benefits, hitting thresholds on certain cards, and overall just finding those best opportunities. And that decision, just like I've broken down with my setup today, relies on this rough framework you could use to maximize your setup. First, are there any welcome bonuses worth your attention? If you're like me and you're near 524, maybe not really, but if you're earlier on in your journey, welcome bonuses are some of the highest return on spends you can get. Then identify any limited time or extra high multipliers you may have, like the Chase Freedom Flex right now with that total 7 times points on dining. Third, make sure you have your cards that give you that elevated spend on your most spent in categories. For me, that's dining and travel, and ideally 3 times points or more. Fourth, have a catch-all for everything else, like the Venture X or the Atmos Summit card if you're traveling abroad. Fifth, note any credits, benefits, or rewards you have to use with upcoming deadlines, whether it's annual, monthly, or something earned from a welcome bonus. And sixth, actually use those points for some unforgettable travel experiences. Multiply those hard-earned rewards, getting you 2, 3, 4 times or more in value for experiences like these and these, following the exact steps I've used redeeming over 2 to 3 million points over the last few years in this video here. Happy travels, and I'll see you over there.